What's good, YouTube? This is Boxingwave, and we are back with the Wave Report number 32. This video here, I'm just going to go over all of the fights for the past couple weekends, okay? I haven't made content in about almost 2 weeks. And before I move forward with all of the new fight announcements, I just want to just go over these fights, these recent fights. There's some pretty good fights, not any major big fights, but definitely fights worth covering. And we're going to start out with the Japanese card from the other day. Takuma Inoue against German and Kaha. I'm going to start out with the undercards because I did watch this full card. I just didn't watch it early that morning. I actually watched it a few days ago. So on the undercard, first fight was Rico Masuda against Jonas Sultan. Now, what stood out about this fight, it was a round one stoppage with Masuda. And I've never seen this guy fight before, but I was really impressed with the stoppage because Sultan has always been a pretty tough fighter. Like, I've watched him enough. I've seen the fight with John Rio Casamero, Paul Butler. Like, I've seen him fight enough to know that he's like a top guy, you know what I mean? A top contender, at least. And this guy, Rico Masuda, just punished him, stopped him to the body. He's only got 5-6 professional fights at this point. Pretty impressive win. And let me tell you something. These Japanese fighters have some talented fighters out there, and I'm going to speak more on that in this video. But I don't know what else to say for a guy that has a lot of losses but never been stopped before. Get stopped like that in one round with one punch to the body. And this card was full of body shots. I mean, the whole card was just some good body shots throughout the whole night. All right, but yeah, this was a really impressive performance from Masuda. And I'm definitely gonna be looking out for this guy. I mean, if you haven't heard of him, just look up, this event card on BoxRec and check this guy out. It's a pretty impressive shot to the body. Put him down, and Sultan couldn't get up from that shot in the first round. Maybe it's part of the reason why he's never been stopped is probably because he's probably never been worked to the body that way. But Masuda, again, taller fighter, rangy fighter, connected with a good body shot from the outside and put him down in the first round. And Sultan just couldn't get back up. All right. And he only has one loss. He did fight Sasumi, and that's Sasumi that fought Anaguchi. He lost in his last fight to Sasumi, and that's his only loss, and that's not a bad loss. You know what I mean? So to fight Sasumi in like 5 professional fights shows a lot. Even though it's I see that, and I probably gotta go back and watch that fight, but just losing to that one fighter when you only have 5 fights in says a lot, and the scorecards was pretty close. So I definitely got to go back and check out that fight when I get a chance. All right. The second fight on that card was Kosei Tanaka against Christian Bakasegwa. Now, this fight actually was pretty competitive, more competitive than what the scorecards gave it. I think Bakasegwa at least won 3 or 4 of those rounds in that fight. Tanaka looked good. I did see the improvement in his head movement. He looked good, but not enough activity throughout the fight. But I guess he was a lot more accurate, and I think he was just working on his accuracy. He was able to step in and throw some combinations at time, and again, good head movement and rolling and stuff. So he wasn't catching a bulk of the punches in this fight, but he did fight a game fighter in Pakasegwa, and it was just a good performance. I mean, it was a unanimous decision win, and Tanaka's still on the lookout. He wants to get that rematch in his first and only loss, I believe. Is that his only loss? Let me check. I just want to be clear, but I believe Kosei Tanaka. I believe that is Yeah, the Ioka loss is his only loss, and he was stopped in that fight. So he wants to run that back, and he wants that rematch. And I mean, he's been active since that fight. I mean, that fight was back in 2020, and he's had about 5, 6 fights since then. Okay, 5 fights. So he wants to run it back. It's not a bad rematch. I wouldn't mind seeing it. But I still think, even with the head movement and improvements that I saw in this fight, I think with Yoka it's going to be a little tougher. And I still think that at some point his head is right on the line and he's really close up on you. And Bakasegwa was a good, again, he was a good fighter. There was a lot of good body shots exchanges between the both of them. But Yoka's on a different level. You know what I mean? So yes, he looked good in this fight. But in that fight, if they were to run it back again, Yoka did stop him. Yoka was very, very accurate, and Yoka does have some pop. So, not a bad fight. Just a long one. It just seemed like it was the only fight on this card that actually went to a decision. So it seemed like a long fight. All right. So this is the fight that I was actually looking forward to the most on this card, and this was between Alexandro Santiago against Junto Nakatani. All right, Nakatani's up at 118. He's fighting at bantamweight now, and I wanted to see this fight because I saw Santiago's fight against O'Near last year, and he picked up the win. Surprisingly, I didn't really see him much before that, so I didn't really know what to expect. It seemed like outside of the monster. It seemed like Donaire has been pretty impressive on all of the other fights. And in that fight, he lost. Santiago boxed pretty well in that fight. So I was looking forward to seeing this fight because I highly, highly rate Junto Nakatani. And Junto didn't underperform in this fight. I mean, he looked just as good as he's been looking in every single fight. And to be honest, and in my opinion, and I don't know how you guys feel. Let me know in the comments, especially you guys that are into the Japanese fighters. I think Junto Nakatani is probably the most impressive looking Japanese fighter outside of Naoya Inoue in all of boxing right now. I think, I think some people are going to say Kenshiro Taraji. And I understand why, but from a technically sound aspect, I think that Junto Nakatani is the most talented fighter outside of the monster. I think Inoue is clearly number one. And I think for me right now, I am most impressive with Nakatani. I know there are other fighters. Again, Taraji's out there. Ioka is still out there. The veteran is still out there. But I think Junto Nakatani is the best and most dangerous fighter right now. It's just the way he controls distance. It's like, man, he's tall. He has those long arms. And he knows how to use them. He knows how to catch you coming in. He knows what you're going to try to do. And we've seen that with the Andrew Maloney fight when he knocked him out in one of the best knockouts last year. To him to have that power and know how to be so rangy and catch you coming in and keep you on the end of his jab. I just think he's the best fighter. I think he's outside of Inoue, of course, he's the best. He's the most impressive to me. Taraji is good. I'm not taking anything away from him. He's probably third or fourth best in the world. But in my opinion, I think Nakatani is the most impressive. And let me tell you something. He dominated this fight against Santiago. Santiago just struggled. He did get in sometimes and didn't land some good combos every now and then. But a lot of fighters are going to have a problem with this guy. And speaking on a potential opponent in Takuma Inoue, who also won in the main event against Jorin Akaha, I think Nakatani is better than Takuma Inoue, the younger brother of Naoya Inoue. And I would like them to fight. I mean, they're both champions at this point. Takuma is now a 4-division champion, I believe. And you got Is he a 4 division or a 3 division? I don't want to get confused because there's a lot of these guys, and they all have a lot of different titles in different divisions. All right, so I don't want to get that wrong. But Junto Nakatani to me is the best, and I'm expecting and hoping that he fights Takuma Inoue next. There's other champions still there. I think at 118 you still got, I think you got Jason Maloney, the other Maloney brother. I can't remember off top who else is a champion at the division. But I think Junto Nakatani right now probably is the best. And if Junto is to become an undisputed or unified, I don't know what his plans on doing at 118. But if he can keep going the way he's going and become undisputed or eventually move up, and if he does fight Takuma and beats Takuma, you never know. Maybe we can get a fight between Naoya in a way and Junto Nakatani up at 122. It's funny because I actually wanted Junto to stick around and fight some of these other champions at 115. You know what I mean? Some of the older guys, or even Bam Rodriguez. That's a fight I wanted, and I was talking about last year. But Bam went back down and Junto went up, and I felt like, damn, between everyone from 118 and down, I feel like Bam is probably my favorite, and I feel like Junto is probably my favorite right now. Those two are my favorites. So I would have loved to see that, but it seems like they're not going in the same direction as far as weight. So, all right. But yeah, Takuma Inoue stops Jerwin and Kaha in a very impressive performance there, because Takuma is not known to have big power, so when that happened, again, it just was a very impressive performance. I think, I believe he stopped him. I believe he stopped him with a body shot in round 9. And it was really competitive. Jerwin Kaha has been in some good fights. Fernando Martinez, those 2 fights were really, really good. So he's been around. So Takuma, this is definitely one of his better wins, one of his best wins. And it was good. And talking about that in the out style, like, he's the type of guy that's going to be stepping in, jumping in, and looking to throw combos if he were to fight a Junto Nakatani. So he's going to have that approach. And I know he's not a big puncher, but I think from watching the Santiago fight with Junto, I can see where Takuma can have his advantages and do a little better at stepping in and getting in range than Alexandre Santiago did. You know what I mean? So that's a fight that I'm looking forward to see. Hopefully we get some unifications at 118. It's a good division. There's a lot of talent there. And that's pretty much it for that card, man. A good card. All right. So let's get through some other fights over the past couple of weeks. Let's talk about Hamzah Sheeraz. Hamzah Sheeraz against Liam Williams. He stops him in the first round. And look, I don't want to, overhype the win. It's a good win because we know that Liam Williams always get hurt early and he gets dropped early. And, we seen Chris Eubank drop him like 5-6 times. We seen Andrade almost get him out of there in the first round. Excuse me. Liam Williams is a guy that needs rounds to warm up. He takes his worst punishment, it seems like, in the earlier rounds, and a lot of times when he gets knocked down, they're flash knockdowns. He gets dropped. He takes a good shot to the chin. He'll get back up and keep going. The reason why this fight is impressive because Sheeraz was able to stop him and get him out of here in the first round, and I know Liam Williams was on his feet and I know a towel was thrown, but he was getting clobbered in the first round, and I'm sure his team probably knew, like, listen, Williams, I believe he was going to retire, and then he came back out. They probably just felt like, if this guy is getting pummeled, we're gonna stop, throw the towel in, and that's what we got. We didn't really get much because Sheeraz, every time he landed anything, it seemed like he hurt him. Williams, again, is not the most durable fighter, but he's tough, he's powerful, just not that durable. Whenever he catches a good shot, he's going to go down. But Hamzah Sheeraz is a British fighter, and moving forward, 160, which is probably the most limited division right now, in the upper weights at least, in my opinion. I really don't know where he's gonna go. I think he is ranked in the WBC. I didn't check all the other sanctioning bodies, but I know this was like for a WBC silver title. So what does that mean? You got Jamal Charlo that's still holding the belt hostage, even though he hasn't fought at the division for God knows how long. And then you have Carlos Adames, who has been the interim champion with the WBC for a long time. So what I would like is maybe we get a Shiraz fight against Carlos Adames. I don't believe Jamal's going to stay at 160. And if not, like you got Liam Smith. Liam Smith has been in there with Liam Williams. Liam Smith has been in there with a whole bunch of people. He's a British fighter. So try to make that fight. If not Liam Smith, let's get a Chris Eubank. If Chris Eubank can't seem to fight a big name, go after that. I don't think Chris is going to do that because Chris is going towards the end of his career, and I think he just wants a big money fight. He wants a Canelo fight. He wants something big at this point. So he's not trying to take fights for up and coming guys. When I don't think so. And you got Janibek, who's the unified champion at 160, who seems to just can't find a fight right now. So look, man, there's a lot of options for Shiraz. He got Austin Williams that's going to come up. He fights with Matchroom, but you never know. Like, these are good fights. All of these names: Austin Williams, Chris Eubank Jr., Liam Smith, Janibek. You got Jamal if he stays down at 160. You have Carlos Adames. You still got fighters. There's names. And I think Shiraz is at that point where he can fight for a title or fight another top contender. So, he's tall. He's rangy. He has some power. So he's good. He's good to watch. I've seen him before, but I never covered him before. But I saw the fight, and it's good that he got him out of there. Do something a little different because, again, Eubank and Andre was able to hurt him early, but not get him out of there. So him to get out of, actually stop in the first round was good. Good look for him. Moving on, Jojo Diaz against Jesus Perez. Now, this was a split decision. And this was like one of the oldest fights that I'm covering here on this video. But I did watch it. I watched it later. And I think it's a robbery off the strength that one of the scorecards was like 99 to 90 for Jesus Perez. Now, look, man, this is definitely one of those fights where you're judging based on what you like to see. I think there was two judges, 1-1, that I thought that the scorecards they gave were cool. One gave it to JoJo, one gave it to Jesus Perez. All right. JoJo was definitely landing the more effective shots throughout the rounds. All right. More effective, harder punches. Definitely had clear, more effect, more clean. Jesus Perez, volume, more volume, a lot more missing, but he kept throwing. He was consistently throwing throughout the entire fight. So I can get why the judges could give it to him. But 99 to 90 O's is just a little bit too wide for me. You know what I mean? Just giving JoJo one round is kind of crazy, especially with the big shots he landed throughout the fight. I just don't see how you can just give the guy one round, So I'm not mad at the overall decision. There's just like this with many other fights where there's some wild ass, crazy ass scorecard that makes you say like, okay, this judge was clearly here to score it for this guy, Giving him one round is just a little too crazy for me. All right, so I had a problem with that. All right. But overall, this Jesus Perez guy he's a big guy. He's actually a welterweight. All right. And for him to cut down, one thing that I did notice in the fight is that even though he was a volume puncher, he was throwing a lot of punches. He didn't have much staying on his punches. He was wasting a lot of punches, and he was getting burnt out. There were certain rounds where he was throwing, but he didn't really have any impact in anything that he was throwing. So I don't know. He's obviously, like, as a welterweight, he's a smaller welterweight because he's very short. He's like a short, stocky guy. So I can see how he can make it back down to like a catch weight close to 135. But maybe he's draining himself. Like, maybe he should be. I can see him being a problem at 135 because of his size and volume. But he's also draining himself to make the weight. Now if he were to throw volume like that and be a little bit more fluid like the way William Zepeda was when he fought Joe, then I can see him being a problem. But, maybe at least fight at 140, and I know this was like at a 138 catch weight or something like that, but maybe he's a little drained. So I'm not sure. Like, it's like, I think him being big at 135 could give a lot of fighters some trouble, but he wasn't really effective with his volume like that. Like JoJo, unfortunately for JoJo, I don't know what's up with him, man. He just doesn't bring it. He's just not intense enough. He's kind of coast through some of these fights. And even if you are more effective here, and he's a good boxer, it's not like anyone easily beats him. But he's just not doing enough. He needs to do more, and his work rate is just too low, and I think if he had more power where he was putting guys down or stopping some of these guys, then I can see how he could win some of these fights. But he doesn't have the biggest punch, and he's not the biggest lightweight, so and then again, I think he could really be doing better than when he's performing. The most Mercito Hesta fight, this fight, there's some of these fights where I feel like he is capable of doing more. Just gotta wonder, is he just coming in for a check? I question his motivation because I think he can be better than what he is. Like William Zepeda, I get losing that. Like Zepeda is just, he's throwing like 1,200 punches a fight, so I get that. But this fight here and the fight that he lost against Hesta, I think he could have done more. You know what I mean? All right, so moving on. So I saw the Andy Cruz fight that was on the undercard of the Edgar Berlanga fight. And again, he dominates. Goes to a decision, doesn't get the stoppage, but he fights a guy called named Brian Rodriguez, and this guy was a southpaw, and he could box good. You can tell, like, he was definitely fighting pretty good on the back foot, trying to set traps, but Andy just too athletic, ridiculous. Just ridiculous. What's it called? Like, reflexes, cat-like reflexes. He's moving. He's never on a line. Like, he's very hard to catch. So it doesn't really matter what you're doing, whether you're coming forward or going backwards. It's really hard to catch this dude. But the thing is, and someone tweeted me about this. Someone said to me, like, Andy Cruz seems to only have one gear. And I think that's halfway true. At this level, yes. It seems like it, only because it's like he's dominating, but you want him to get the stoppage. But you know what? It seems like it at this point because he's fighting guys that are not known, and you want the stoppage when he's winning by this much. We were saying the same about. Some people say the same about Shakur Stevenson or even Devin Haney. I'll never forget the Gamboa fight where I was live on here, and I was like in the chair like this, falling asleep because Gamboa wasn't going to do anything, and Devin Haney He didn't want to turn it into a different gear. He didn't want to turn it up a notch, even though he was clearly winning. And I think with Andy Cruz, I think he just fought a guy. He's never been stopped. Maybe you got to give credit to the fighter he was facing. The guy's never been stopped. And I think Andy is improving on his power. I think he's clearly hitting a lot harder. He went to the body a whole lot in this fight. I just, for whatever reason, he just couldn't get this guy out of it. And it'd be like that sometimes, man. Sometimes it just be like that, you know. But I think he's working towards his power, while still being slick, and I think he'll get there, But to be honest, I don't think too many people beat this guy. I really think that Andy Cruz right now is already at the elite level and can possibly fight for against any champion and do well, win or lose. I think he's at a level of a champion. This is not a guy that I'm sitting around waiting for him to develop more. I know he is developing as a puncher, but as far as his skill set, it's already elite to me. He's a two-time gold medalist, and it shows. It sees. I mean, beating Keyshawn recently too in the amateurs. Keyshawn is definitely one of the best prospects out there, and he has like 4 wins over him. And I know that's not in the pro rankings, but still, those are like one of them was recently. It wasn't even that long ago. So Andy Cruz is going to be a problem for anyone, and the moment that Eddie or someone's going to want to put the money down and pay someone to fight him, that's when he's going to blow up. But to be honest, being over at Matchroom, I don't know right now. Him being a lightweight is the best for him because Top Rank has so many guys, that are lightweights. You know what I mean? You got the PBC, you got the few that's over there, and you got like Top Rank, right? And then you have Matchroom. But you have Matchroom, but then it's not a lot. It's guys like you got dazn. You have dazn. But then you have Golden Boy that fights on the zone. You have Matchroom that fights on the zone. And you got guys like William Cepeda, right? Who I wouldn't expect Oscar to put him in there with Andy Cruz. I would expect them to put him in there with like a JoJo Diaz right now. So I don't know how many options and opportunities Andy's going to get. He might as well just keep fighting. I mean, at the very least, I don't think he has a big name. I think his name is in connection of Keyshawn because Keyshawn has been fighting as a pro for a little longer and he's linked with Shakur and Terrence Crawford, but he's also linked himself with the other top competitors like Floyd Schofield, Frank Martin, stuff like that. So, I think Andy Cruz, as long as he's staying active, continue to throw him on all of these cards. But the way to go, probably for him as a lightweight, would probably be Top Rank. And hopefully Eddie can work something out with him without having to, pay all this money to get it to happen. Because Andy Cruz, I don't think he needs that much practice coming up. Like, I think he's already a top tier fighter at lightweight, so get whoever you got to get it going. There's a lot of talent at 135, but I'm not sure how many of those guys are with Matchroom. Most of them are with PBC, Top Rank. You got guys like Jose Valenzuela. You know what I mean? It's a lot of guys that he could go after right now that the other promoters are most likely not going to deal with him because of his talent. You know what I mean? All right, so next fight, O'Shaquie Foster against Abraham Novak. God, this is like almost 2 weeks ago now. But I have to talk about it because I was going to go to this fight, and this was like, I didn't make it to the fight. All right, I wanted to go, but I couldn't make it to the fight. I was going to pick up some last minute tickets and shoot out there to the garden. But this was a very good fight. And again, Ashaki Foster has been getting us, his style, you would think that his style is not like an eye-catching style. But the matchups he's had recently has made out to be Rocky, Ray Vargas, and now Abraham Nova fighting against guys that were pretty aggressive. And it makes him and force him to fight more, and this was a very good fight because there was Foster he had to make some adjustments here to win this one. Abraham came out tough, and let me tell you, I did a breakdown for this fight, and I picked Foster, but there was a lot of you in the comments, especially the Puerto Rican, the Boricua community was in the comments talking shit to me. A lot of you guys believe Nova was going to win this fight, and that I was overlooking him. And it's not that I was overlooking him. I just didn't think he was going to win the fight. And, I thought Foster, confidence in coming in this fight. And I know Nova was gassed and, he was weight drained. And I know that. But I thought Foster overall just had the skills and the tools to pull it out, and in which he did. It was a split decision. I didn't think the split decision was necessary. I thought Foster clearly won, especially with that 12th round knockdown. But I thought the fight was close. Like 7-5, maybe 8-4. I think Nova had some good early rounds in the fight. I can't remember round for round, but I remember there was like maybe the second and third round where Oshaki was forced to switch southpaw because he was really struggling with Nova's timing and controlling distance, using that lead hand. And Foster was really, really struggling in some of those earlier rounds. But he made the proper adjustments. And to be honest, man, what makes Oshaki Foster so good is he's clutch. Say what you want about him, but this is 2 fights in a row where the fight was close. Whatever way you had it scored, the fight was close, and he pulled it out in the later rounds. He outworked Nova. Nova was burnt out for the last 3 or 4 rounds. And Oshaki picked it up and even scored a knockdown in the 12th round, which was legit. I know when I was watching it, I was unsure whether or not that was a legitimate knockdown. But when they showed the replay, I was like, he got caught with a good shot. He might have even slipped, but he got caught with a good shot before going down. And Oshaki Foster is the truth, man. This is at 130, so he obviously has options. There's other champions there. Who's the other fighter that is? I always forget. At 130, that's right there at top rank with him. All right, so you got Emmanuel Navarrete, which would be a phenomenal fight to have right now. They're both top rank. It shouldn't be an issue. Joe Cordina he's not going to be available right now because he has a fight coming up. And we know Lee Wood wants to fight him, so I don't think Lara is going to be. But you got Lamont Roach. You got Emmanuel Navarrete, who are champions. And let's get it. I think Lamont Roach already said that he's willing to take the fight. He already responded, I think, on social media that he would take the fight. All right. So Oshaki Foster pick up a win against Abraham Nova. Good fight, man. I think even in defeat, I think that was the best I've seen Nova fight. Even with the loss, he still looked good. I just think that he just couldn't pull off strong. I think he was tired for several rounds, and that cost him the fight. All right. So we're getting close to the end. Claressa Shields against Kelsey DeSantis. All right, split decision win. I saw it on PFL MMA match. All right, 3-rounder. Clear rounds for me, except the third. First round was clear. Claressa Shields comes out, blazing hand speed, hitting her with the strikes, hitting her with hands, using that boxing skills. All right, landing some good shots early in the round, but Kelsey puts her down, takes her down, and almost snapped the arm, put in an arm lock. Okay, and Claressa didn't seem to completely have it locked in, but Claressa escapes the round. All right, and going to the second round, clear the sentence round, the first round, clear. Going to the second round, Claressa Shields, just attacking her, being physical. The scientists looked so much tired, and in the second round, and Claressa is just punching her, hitting her to the body, just strikes throughout the entire round. All right, clear Claressa Shield round. So now we go into the third 2-2, and DeSantis looks extremely tired. Shields again punishing her with strikes halfway through the round, beating her up, getting hit with everything that Claressa's throwing. And then Kelsey takes her down and keeps her down, all right, and mounts her at some point, all right. Gave her a little ground and pound. Not a lot of clean shots, though. Not really that effective. I agree with the judges, even though it was a split win. I thought Claressa edged the third round simply because she was more effective when she was in her first half of that round. Whereas Kelsey, even though she took her down, even though she mounted her, she was just like burnt out. Like she's not even hitting her with anything. It's just like, yeah, she mounted her, but she wasn't doing anything in the third round. Not doing it enough in the third round for me to give her the round. I think Claressa had a better third round than Kelsey did. So I think she got the edge. Look, I'm going to say this, man. And I've made videos on Claressa Shields and her as an MMA fighter for a while. I love the fact that she has the courage and the heart to go and do that. So let's make that clear. I've already expressed that a few times on this channel. But not only is she not fighting elite female fighters, but I don't know what they're paying her to fight over there in PFL. And obviously, if it's a good check, go over there and do what you got to do. If you're getting paid, who am I to tell you not to get paid? But seeing her in that arm lock, I'm like, is this worth your career? Because if you break your arm, you may not really go and be able to be who you are as a boxer ever again. This can affect you. I mean, your elbow was being broken. Like, your elbow could have been snapped. It could have been. And if you were fighting someone that had a little bit more to bring to the table, it would have been done. I've said this in all three fights. The second fight she lost, she won this one. First fight, there was a scare too, at some point where she was in some kind of lock in the first fight. I remember in her first professional MMA match. But is it really worth it? Like, is the bag bigger over there? Is it really bigger over there? If it is, I can see why you're doing it. If it's not, is it worth you risking you getting a terrible injury from being over there? I mean, again, I give her all the credit for going over there and doing it. She's crazy. She really is. And I love her to death. I'm a huge Claressa Shields fan. Regardless of what she say, I don't agree with a lot of shit she say outside of the ring. But when she's boxing, I think she's the best female boxer I've seen. But at the end of the day, I don't know, man. As a fan, I'm like watching it and I'm like, I don't want to see her doing this. You know what I mean? I don't want to see her doing this. And honestly, even with the striking, she's not striking. And when I say striking, she's still just throwing punches, but she's doing it in a way that she doesn't do it when she's boxing. It's like more wild. And I'm like, take some of that stuff that you do in the ring and bring it over here. A lot of those punches he was drawing, I think she could have put this girl down if she was just a little bit more clean, a little bit more straight. Um, I don't know, a little sharper. She just seemed to be off with the punches. So I don't know. That's just my opinion. Um, I don't know where she's expecting to go and take this. I don't know what the PFL is really, what do they really got to offer there. But, this fight it wasn't even on the pay-per-view card. It was like on the earlier card. And I'm just like saying like, is this really worth it? I mean, you got a guy like Francis Ngannou who is legitimately an MMA fighter with the PFL, and he hasn't even fought over there yet. Because he's over here doing a boxing thing. So hopefully something good enough comes Claressa's way where she can leave this alone, because I think she went there because maybe there was a lot of women making more money over there when it came to like MMA and the UFC. But I don't know. Again, I don't know the details. Like, I'm not looking up her purses and stuff like that. All right. Anyway, and the last fight that I want to cover today before I get out of here is Edgar Berlanga against Padraig McCrory. Now, Edgar Berlanga hasn't been in the ring since his last fight. I know Edgar, he had like 16 knockouts in a row, and then he's had some decisions. He's been down. He struggled a little bit since stepping up in opposition. All right, and this is his first stoppage in a while. McCrory, he stopped him in the 6th round, and I'm glad that he's back. I'm glad he's gotten a win. I know that he had gotten suspended. I don't know if it's his last fight or the fight before that, but I think it was the fight before that. Okay, he had got suspended because he had bit his opponent. I think he was frustrated, and he bit his opponent at some point in that fight. All right, they didn't disqualify him, but he got suspended. And look, man, I want the guy to win. He's from New York, he's from Brooklyn, so I'm always biased towards fighters from New York. So when I started checking him out, I was definitely excited for him, but I did want to see more. I'm not a fool. I'm an older boxing fan now, so I see a lot of hype in fighters, and I know when there's a lot of hype. And with him, I think it's a gift and a curse when you get so much hype, and you got all these celebrities checking for you now. Man, when you're a Puerto Rican from New York, everybody gets excited from the Puerto Rican community. Everybody here, especially in New York, get excited for every Puerto Rican fighter that's going to come up. They always fight here. They always here for the Puerto Rican Day Parade weekend, like Tito was and like Cotto was and stuff. I was there. I remember those times. So I get all the hype, but the problem with that hype is that you got to deliver. And I just don't think he's delivered. I think he's been doing well, but I don't think his performances matches the hype. And the one thing that scares me about Edgar Berlanga the most is not about him like losing or anything or getting exposed in a fight. It's not even about that. It's about his frustrations. And not only did he bite someone in a fight before, but in this recent fight against McCrory, he was able to throw an elbow, a clear elbow in the fight in one of those rounds. And I think it was uncalled for. Like, what was happening to you that made you get so angry? And I'm like, I don't know, man. This kid, I feel like something's gonna happen. Like, he's gonna have a mental breakdown in the ring, or if he does lose, he's gonna take it really low. He take it really hard, because when he gets frustrated, he does something stupid. So I'm a little worried about him, and it's not that I'm trying to predict it, but I see it happening, because the kid really he has some issues. You know what I mean? So look, He's a good fighter. I know he's trying to get the Canelo fight. Me personally, I think, and I definitely gotta talk about Canelo and all this mess. I honestly was done talking about Canelo because I'm just getting annoyed with the community right now when it comes to Canelo and 168. Just this whole thing with the PBC, I'm kind of getting annoyed. I kind of want to just know who the opponent is going to be, and I don't really care for all the drama and or who's saying this and all these sources. Like, everybody's proven to be wrong for the most part these past month or so. But when it comes to 168, there's a lot of fighters that really need to be facing off against each other. And I think that I only believe that Benavidez has earned a shot, a big fight. I think he's the only one that's really earned it at 168. I think I'm not taking anything away from Jaime Munguia because he's been boxing for some time. Excuse me. He's been a champion before, but he's been moved very carefully, for this moment to get the Canelo fight. But he's coming off a great win, his best win, so I get that. So I'm not trying to take anything away from him. To be honest, being that it's not going to be Benavidez, Canelo could do what he wants to do. All right, like he's been doing. He's gonna do what he wants to do. He could fight me, and the fans wouldn't care. They're gonna defend it. Whatever he does. But as far as the division, and my point is, Edgar Berlanga is not even close to fighting Canelo Alvarez. In fact, I don't have Edgar being Jaime Munguia. I don't have him being Dave Morrell. I think that's a mismatch. I think David Morrell is a mismatch. I think Benavidez is a mismatch. I think Canelo is a mismatch. I even think Caleb Plant is a mismatch. I think those four guys are clearly better than Edgar Berlanga. Including Jaime Munguia. Now he's gonna have to fight one of those guys, but there's nothing it's nothing special. Like every other of those other guys, I see something there to where can we just have a tournament at this point? Like, if Canelo doesn't fight any of these guys, and my only issue is with Canelo, like, dude, fight what you want to do. Like, fight who you want to fight. I know who you are. I know who you fought. You fought Floyd. You fought Triple G. You fought Lara. You fought Bivol and all of these guys. I get it. Danny Jacobs. You have a great resume. But if you are holding those belts, you have responsibility. It doesn't matter who you fought in your past. If you're holding those belts, you have a responsibility. And you should be fighting when you're undisputed, you should be fighting the very best. You should be fighting the very best. And whoever he decides, all of these other guys need to be facing each other. Seriously. Like, Jamal and Plant should be fighting each other. You guys, a guy slapped you in person. You should be fighting him. All right? Morrell and Benavidez. Well, Benavidez is going up now. So, whatever. He's gone. But Morrell, Munguia, or Edgar Berlanga. Mix them up whatever way you like. And Billy. He's up there. You guys, there's about 6 of you guys. The top guys at 168 should be fighting each other. Match them up any way you like. But all of them are sitting around hoping they get Canelo. And they're all going to stay safe and pick someone that's easier to beat because they don't want to lose before getting a shot with Canelo. So everyone's kind of cherry picking. All right. Some, I think, deserve the fight. Berlanga, if they make that fight, again, it's going to be because of Puerto Rico-Mexico rivalry and all that. So I get it. But Berlanga is not on that level, man. He's not. He's just not. He's a good boxer. He's a good boxer. I'm not saying he's trash. But all those other fighters are way more proven and seasoned. And they look more talented. You know, I know Plant lost to Benavidez and Canelo and stuff, but I mean, Plant can box this guy's ears off. You know, Berlanga has struggled much worse against fighters that's not nearly on the level of Plant. McGee is a beast, and he's improved on his boxing skills, so you can't even say that anymore. He's improved. And he's a beast. So I want to see Edgar in the mix with some of these guys, because I think if he goes straight to Canelo, it's just like, you guys were just saying Benavidez wasn't good enough, but Canelo picks Berlanga. You know what I mean? It's just like, what's going on? Not saying he is going to pick him, because he probably won't fight him. But if he's going to go over the Matchroom, like the reports are saying, he might possibly fight Edgar Berlanga. You know, like, we'll talk more about that in another video. But anyway, good win for Berlanga, but this doesn't earn nothing. No one's ever heard of Padre McCrory before. You know, good fighter. You know, reminds me of an orthodox Andy Lee a little bit. But, I mean, outside of that, nothing special. All right. Good to see him get a knockout, though. All right. So that's it in today's video. I'll see you guys on the next one. Y'all have a good one. Peace.